Good evening, dear listeners. As you settle into a comfortable position, perhaps nestled beneath a soft blanket or gently resting your head upon a plush pillow, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. With each exhale, allow the weight of the day to melt away, creating space for tranquility and ease. This evening, we embark on a journey through time, exploring a subject that may seem, at first glance, rather mundane: the history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Now, I know what you might be thinking: brick production, quality assurance. It might not sound like the most riveting of topics, but I assure you, dear friend, that within this seemingly tedious realm lies a fascinating tapestry of human ingenuity, ancient practices, and a deep respect for craftsmanship that has endured the sands of time. As we drift through the warm embrace of history, we will explore how the ancient Egyptians, with their remarkable architecture and monumental constructions, developed meticulous methods to ensure their building materials were not only durable but also of the highest quality. We will delve into the techniques they employed, the tools they used, and the careful processes that went into crafting each brick, imbued with the spirit of their civilization. Throughout our journey, we will also uncover the role of laborers and craftsmen in this process, examining how their dedication and skill contributed to the construction of the iconic structures that still stand today. From the humble mud bricks of the Nile to the grand edifices of temples and tombs, the story of brick production is interwoven with the very essence of ancient Egyptian life. In our exploration, we will touch upon the various materials utilized in brickmaking, such as the rich silt of the Nile, and the seasonal cycles that dictated the rhythm of production. You will learn about the ancient Egyptians' understanding of the natural environment, and how they harnessed it to create lasting legacies that would echo through the ages. As we wander deeper into this historical narrative, it is a reminder that even in the most ordinary aspects of life, there exists a profound dedication to excellence and beauty. So, as you allow the soothing sounds of my voice to wash over you, I encourage you to envision yourself in the sun-drenched land of ancient Egypt, where the air is filled with the scent of the Nile and the distant sounds of artisans at work. Picture the rhythmic clapping of hands as bricks are shaped, each one crafted with care, destined to support the great monuments that will one day tell their stories. As we prepare to delve into this captivating history, let us embrace a sense of calm. Allow the gentle flow of knowledge to cradle you, nurturing your mind as it whispers tales of resilience, creativity, and the meticulous spirit of a civilization that thrived in harmony with nature. Now, with a soft sigh, let us transition into the main content of our journey. Close your eyes if you wish, and let the soothing cadence of the narrative guide you into the depths of the ancient world, where the art of brick production unfolds with grace and purpose. Together, we will uncover the intricate details of a history that, though it may seem tedious, is rich with stories waiting to be told. Welcome to the world of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Let us begin. The history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols can be traced back to the earliest dynastic periods, around 3100 BCE, with the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under the rule of Narmer, also known as Menes. This period marked the beginning of organized state-level construction projects that necessitated the development of comprehensive procedural frameworks to ensure the quality and consistency of building materials, particularly mud bricks, known as libn in the ancient Egyptian lexicon. The earliest archaeological evidence of brick production can be found in sites such as Hierakonpolis and Abydos, where sun-dried mud bricks were utilized in the construction of temples and administrative buildings. These bricks were crafted from a mixture of Nile silt, water, and straw, which served as a binding agent. The quality of these materials was paramount, thus, the Egyptians developed rudimentary quality assurance protocols to monitor the composition and uniformity of the bricks produced. By the time of the Old Kingdom, specifically during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser, circa 2670 to 2640 BCE, the construction of monumental structures, such as the step pyramid at Saqqara, showcased advancements in architectural techniques and the need for more stringent quality control measures. The construction of this pyramid involved not only the production of vast quantities of bricks but also the standardization of their dimensions. Historical records indicate that bricks were typically molded into rectangular shapes, measuring approximately 10 cm by 20 cm by 40 cm, thus necessitating the establishment of molds that conform to these specifications. Administrative procedures surrounding brick production were formalized during this period, as state officials began to oversee the operations of brickmaking workshops, often located near the construction sites. These workshops were staffed by laborers who followed daily routines that included gathering raw materials, mixing the mud, and forming the bricks in molds. The drying process, essential for ensuring the structural integrity of the bricks, involved leaving the molded bricks in the sun for several days. Quality assurance during this phase was critical. Thus, overseers were appointed to inspect the bricks for cracks or uneven surfaces. The establishment of a central authority to regulate brick production became more pronounced during the Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE. Pharaohs such as Amenemhat II, circa 1929 to 1895 BCE, implemented policies that mandated the documentation of production processes. This included record-keeping systems that logged the quantity of bricks produced, the materials used, and the labor force engaged in production. Such documentation was meticulously maintained on papyrus scrolls, and it is believed that these records were stored in administrative centers located in proximity to major construction sites, such as Thebes and Memphis. The architectural advancements of the Middle Kingdom also necessitated a reconsideration of brick quality. The construction of the mortuary temple of Senwosret-I at Lisht, for instance, required not only a significant quantity of bricks but also a uniformity that would ensure the structural stability of the edifice. Therefore, the quality assurance protocols included standardized drying periods and specific ratios of straw to mud to enhance the tensile strength of the bricks. During the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, the emphasis on monumental architecture reached its zenith, with the construction of vast temples and mortuary complexes, such as the Temple of Karnak and the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. The scale and complexity of these projects led to the adoption of more sophisticated quality assurance protocols. The bureaucratic apparatus expanded, incorporating specialized roles such as the chief brickmaker, known in hieroglyphics as Seshet, who was tasked with overseeing all aspects of brick production, from material selection to final inspection. In this period, the introduction of fired bricks, known as Q80, began to emerge in select architectural applications, particularly in more permanent structures. The production of fired bricks required a different set of quality assurance measures, as the firing process necessitated precise temperature control within kilns. Kiln inspectors were appointed to monitor the firing conditions, ensuring that bricks reached the required hardness without cracking or warping. The firing process was also documented, with records detailing the temperatures achieved and the duration of the firing cycle. Daily routines within the brick production workshops evolved to accommodate these changes. Laborers were organized into teams, each responsible for specific tasks, such as mixing, molding, and drying. The introduction of shift work allowed for continuous production cycles, maximizing output while maintaining quality. Brick production became a community activity, as local populations were often conscripted for labor, contributing to the social fabric of ancient Egyptian society. In terms of architectural details, the use of bricks in construction expanded beyond mere structural elements. Decorative techniques, such as plastering and painting, were applied to brick surfaces, necessitating an additional layer of quality assurance. The adherence of plaster to the brick surface was scrutinized, leading to the development of methods to ensure optimal adhesion, which included surface treatments and moisture control during the drying phase. The decline of the New Kingdom and the subsequent fragmentation of authority during the Third Intermediate Period, circa 1070 to 664 BCE, saw a decline in the centralized oversight of brick production quality assurance. However, local rulers continued to employ brick production techniques, albeit with less rigorous standards. The architectural remnants from this period, such as the smaller mortuary temples and fortifications, often reflect a variance in brick quality, indicative of the less stringent protocols in place. With the advent of the late period, circa 664 to 332 BCE, and the eventual conquest by Alexander the Great, the ancient Egyptian brick production practices began to assimilate influences from Hellenistic architectural techniques. However, the foundational quality assurance protocols established in earlier periods remained evident in the methodologies employed in brick production. The late-period artisans continued to produce sun-dried and fired bricks, although the focus on monumental architecture waned, leading to a diversification of architectural forms that required varying quality standards. In conclusion, the tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols reflects a gradual evolution from rudimentary practices to a well-established system that underscored the significance of quality in the construction of monumental architecture. The interplay between administrative oversight, technological advancements, and social organization shaped the methodologies employed in brick production across various dynastic periods. While the protocols may appear monotonous and intricate, they reveal a deep-seated commitment to architectural integrity that has left an indelible mark on the ancient Egyptian landscape. The legacy of these quality assurance measures persists, as modern scholars continue to study the remnants of ancient structures, seeking to understand the complexities of a civilization that placed such a high premium on the quality of its building materials. The construction methods employed by the ancient Egyptians were diverse, yet remarkably consistent across various periods, particularly during the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE. The primary building material used for permanent structures was limestone, quarried from local sources such as the Tura quarries near Memphis. However, mud brick, made from the Nile's rich silt, was the predominant material for lesser structures, including residential buildings, granaries, and administrative facilities. The process of creating mud brick involved mixing the Nile's silt with water, straw, and other organic materials to enhance cohesion. Once the mixture reached an adequate consistency, it was molded into bricks measuring approximately 30 cm x 30 cm x 10 cm, although variations were common depending on regional practices. These bricks were then sun-dried for several days until they attained the desired hardness and durability. The quality of the mud brick was paramount, as evidenced by the meticulous inspections conducted by overseers during the drying process to ensure that no cracks or deformities occurred. Construction methods varied slightly depending on the intended structure. For monumental edifices, such as temples and pyramids, a core of limestone blocks was often combined with an outer casing of finer limestone or granite. The Great Pyramid of Giza, completed around 2560 BCE, exemplifies this method, utilizing approximately 2.3 million blocks, each weighing between 2.5 to 15 tons. The transportation of these massive stones was facilitated by the use of sledges and the lubrication of the sand with water, a technique that reduced friction significantly. As structures aged, maintenance procedures were instituted to ensure longevity and structural integrity. Regular inspections were mandated, often conducted by a team of skilled laborers known as the brick inspectors. These inspectors were responsible for assessing the condition of mud brick structures, identifying weaknesses such as erosion or collapse, and determining appropriate repair methods. Repairs typically involved the application of a new mud brick layer to the existing wall, supplemented by a plaster coating to protect against the elements. Financial records from this period, although sporadic, reveal the costs associated with brick production and maintenance. The administrative texts from the Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, include references to the allocation of resources for mud brick production, with an average expenditure of approximately 15 deben of copper for the procurement of straw and labor per 1,000 bricks produced. The meticulous bookkeeping practices of the ancient Egyptians allowed for an accurate assessment of the costs associated with construction and maintenance, ensuring that resources were allocated efficiently. Personnel involved in brick production and maintenance were categorized into various roles, each with specific job descriptions. The chief overseer, known as the granary master, was responsible for the overall management of laborers and resources. Below him were the brick makers, who were tasked with mixing the mud and shaping it into bricks. These laborers often worked in teams, with each member assigned a particular task to expedite the production process. The transporters were responsible for moving the bricks to construction sites, utilizing sledges and manpower. In addition to these roles, specialized craftsmen known as stonecutters were employed for the construction of monumental structures. These individuals possessed the skills necessary to quarry and shape stone blocks, often working in teams to ensure precision in measurements. The technical specifications for these blocks were stringent, with tolerances of no more than 1 centimeter in length and width, a remarkable feat considering the tools available at the time. Regarding technical specifications, the ancient Egyptians adhered to a series of guidelines that dictated the dimensions, weight, and composition of mud bricks. The ideal mud brick, as documented in various papyri, was expected to contain no less than 20% straw by volume to ensure structural integrity while maintaining breathability. In addition, the bricks were to be tested for water absorption. Bricks that absorbed more than 10% of their weight in water were deemed defective and discarded. The standardization of brick size and quality facilitated efficient construction practices, allowing for the modular assembly of structures. This was particularly evident in the construction of administrative buildings, where uniform brick sizes enabled quicker assembly and reduced the likelihood of structural issues arising from uneven surfaces. As the construction and maintenance of structures evolved, so did the financial systems that supported these activities. The ancient Egyptians developed a detailed accounting system that recorded expenditures related to labor, materials, and maintenance. This system relied on a form of hieroglyphic notation, which included various symbols to denote quantities and values. For example, a symbol representing a loaf of bread was often used to indicate the daily rations allocated to laborers, while another symbol denoted the payment of wages, typically in the form of grain or copper. Additionally, the role of the overseer was critical in this financial documentation process. Each overseer maintained a ledger that tracked the number of bricks produced, the associated costs, and the labor force's efficiency. These records were regularly reviewed by higher officials to ensure compliance with established protocols and budgets. Failure to adhere to these standards could result in penalties for the overseer, including fines or removal from their position. The evolution of brick production and quality assurance protocols in ancient Egypt reflects a broader trend of increasing complexity and standardization over time. While early methods relied heavily on local practices and materials, by the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, there was a notable shift toward more sophisticated techniques and a centralized approach to construction. This transition was driven by the demands of an expanding empire and the need for monumental architecture that symbolized the power and divine status of the pharaohs. In conclusion, the ancient Egyptians developed a comprehensive approach to brick production, encompassing construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel management, and technical specifications. This multifaceted system not only ensured the quality and durability of their structures but also reflected a remarkable level of organizational sophistication that continues to be a subject of study for modern scholars. The remnants of these practices, evident in the enduring monuments of ancient Egypt, serve as a testament to the civilization's commitment to quality and excellence in construction. The construction methods employed by the ancient Egyptians were diverse, yet remarkably consistent across various periods, particularly during the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE. The primary building material used for permanent structures was limestone, quarried from local sources such as the Tura quarries near Memphis. This limestone, renowned for its fine quality, was often used in the construction of temples and tombs, which were central to ancient Egyptian culture and religion. The Tura quarries, located approximately 15 kilometers from the heart of Cairo, were actively mined from the early dynastic period, providing the Egyptians with a resource that helped them create some of the most iconic structures in history, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, completed around 2560 BCE. However, mud brick, made from the Nile's rich silt, was the predominant material for lesser structures, including residential buildings, granaries, and administrative facilities. The process of creating mud brick involved mixing silt with water and straw, after which the mixture was formed into rectangular blocks and dried in the sun. This method was efficient and allowed for quick construction, with mud brick buildings often serving their purpose for many years before requiring maintenance or replacement. For example, the city of Amarna, founded by Pharaoh Akhenaten around 1346 BCE, featured extensive use of mud brick in its construction, reflecting the practical needs of urban life during the New Kingdom period. One of the most significant construction techniques employed by the Egyptians was the use of ramps, which facilitated the transportation of massive stone blocks to higher elevations. Theories about the types of ramps used during the construction of the Great Pyramid suggest that straight, zigzagging, and circular ramps may have been utilized, allowing workers to haul stones weighing several tons up the pyramid's sides. The Great Pyramid itself, originally standing at 146.6 meters, 481 feet, and comprised of approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, serves as a testament to the engineering prowess of the ancient Egyptians. In addition to limestone and mud brick, the ancient Egyptians also utilized other materials such as granite and sandstone, particularly in the construction of temples and monumental statues. For instance, the Temple of Karnak, which began construction during the reign of Senusret I around 1971 BCE and continued to evolve for centuries, showcases the use of sandstone and granite in its massive columns and statues. The sheer scale of Karnak, with its vast array of temples, chapels, and pylons, illustrates the complexity and ambition of Egyptian architecture. Moreover, the historical context surrounding these construction methods is essential to understanding their significance. The Old Kingdom was characterized by a strong centralized government, which allowed for large-scale projects to be undertaken. Pharaohs like Khufu, who commissioned the Great Pyramid, were seen as divine figures, and their tombs were built to ensure a successful journey into the afterlife. This belief in the afterlife influenced not only the materials used but also the layout and orientation of these structures, which were often aligned with celestial bodies and significant geographical features. Case studies such as the construction of the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari, built around 1479 to 1458 BCE, further illustrate the evolution of Egyptian construction techniques. This temple, designed by the architect Senenmut, is notable for its terrace structure, which harmonizes with the surrounding cliffs and landscapes. The use of colonnades and open courtyards in its design marks a departure from earlier, more enclosed temple layouts, demonstrating the innovation in architectural styles during the New Kingdom. Additionally, the ancient Egyptians employed skilled laborers who were organized into work gangs, often referred to as fills. These workers were not slaves, as commonly believed, but rather a well-fed and respected workforce, particularly during the construction of monumental structures. Evidence from archaeological sites such as the workers' village at Giza reveals that these laborers were provided with sustenance and medical care while engaged in their work. This organization and the commitment to their labor were crucial in achieving the monumental feats of construction that defined ancient Egyptian civilization. In conclusion, the construction methods of the ancient Egyptians, characterized by the use of various materials, innovative engineering techniques, and a deep connection to their cultural and religious beliefs, laid the foundation for some of the world's most enduring architectural achievements. The legacy of these methods continues to influence modern architecture and engineering, underscoring the ingenuity and resilience of the ancient Egyptians throughout their remarkable history. The construction methods employed in ancient Egyptian brick production were characterized by their systematic approach to ensuring the quality and durability of the structures being erected. From 3000 BCE onward, the Egyptians utilized a variety of materials, primarily mud and straw, to create sun-dried bricks, also known as adobe bricks. The standard dimensions of these bricks typically measured 30 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm, although variations existed depending on the specific requirements of the construction project and the available resources. The process of brickmaking began with the selection of suitable clay deposits, often located near the banks of the Nile River. The clay was then mixed with water and straw to enhance the binding properties of the bricks. This mixture was kneaded thoroughly before being shaped into molds. The molds, often made of wood or baked clay, were standardized to maintain consistency in brick size. Once filled, the molded bricks were left to dry in the sun for a duration of approximately 5 to 7 days, depending on the climatic conditions. Following the drying period, the bricks were removed from the molds and stacked in a manner that allowed for further drying and hardening. Maintenance procedures for brick structures were critical to their longevity. The ancient Egyptians understood the importance of addressing water damage, particularly in regions where flooding from the Nile was a recurring issue. Regular inspections were conducted to identify signs of erosion or structural weakness. In instances of damage, repairs were executed promptly, often involving the replacement of individual bricks or the application of a new mud plaster over the existing surface. This maintenance was typically documented through simple hieroglyphic notations on papyrus scrolls, detailing the specific areas requiring attention, the materials used, and the personnel involved in the repair efforts. Financial records related to brick production were meticulously maintained, reflecting the economic importance of this industry within the broader context of ancient Egyptian society. The records, often inscribed on papyrus, contain detailed accounts of the costs associated with materials, labor, and transportation. For instance, during the 4th dynasty, circa 2570 to 2540 BCE, the average cost of a mud brick was recorded at approximately 0.5 deben, a unit of weight equivalent to 91 grams. Furthermore, labor costs were calculated based on the daily wages of brick makers, which were estimated to be around 0.25 deben per day. The personnel involved in the brick production process were organized into specific roles, each with defined responsibilities. The chief brick maker, known as the wadjet, oversaw the entire operation, ensuring that quality standards were met and that production goals were achieved. Under the wadjet, various assistants performed tasks such as mixing clay, molding bricks, and managing the drying process. Laborers, often sourced from local communities, were typically engaged in these activities on a seasonal basis, correlating with the annual inundation of the Nile, which provided an abundance of clay and water for brick production. In addition to the regular labor force, specialized artisans were employed to create molds and tools necessary for brick production. These craftsmen were skilled in woodwork and ceramics, enabling them to produce consistent and durable equipment. The technical specifications for the molds were often dictated by the scale and purpose of the construction project. For instance, temple constructions required larger and more robust bricks, leading to molds that measured 40 cm x 20 cm x 15 cm, in contrast to the standard residential bricks. The technical specifications of the bricks themselves were also subject to rigorous standards. Quality assurance protocols mandated that bricks must meet specific criteria regarding density, moisture content, and compressive strength. The ideal moisture content for the clay mixture was determined to be between 20% to 25%, ensuring optimal binding properties without compromising the structural integrity of the bricks. The compressive strength of the sun-dried bricks was typically tested by stacking them under controlled conditions, with acceptable thresholds set at a minimum of 50 kg per square centimeter. The ancient Egyptians also documented their methodologies and findings in various texts, which included detailed observations on the performance of different clay types and additives. For example, records from circa 2500 BCE indicate that the addition of fine sand to the clay mixture improved the overall durability of the bricks when subjected to moisture. Similarly, discussions around the use of organic materials, such as crushed palm fronds, highlighted their effectiveness in enhancing the brick's tensile strength. In summary, the ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols were an intricate system that encompassed construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel management, and technical specifications. The attention to detail in each aspect of this process not only ensured the creation of resilient structures but also reflected the advanced understanding of materials science possessed by the ancient Egyptians. Their methods laid foundational principles that continue to inform contemporary practices in construction and engineering, illustrating the enduring legacy of their ingenuity and practical wisdom. The construction methods employed in ancient Egyptian brick production were characterized by their systematic approach to ensuring the quality and durability of the structures being erected. From around 3000 BCE onward, the Egyptians utilized a variety of materials, primarily mud and straw, to create sun-dried bricks, also known as adobe bricks. The standard dimensions of these bricks typically measure 30 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm, although variations existed depending on the specific requirements of the construction project, regional materials, and local practices. The ancient Egyptians had a deep understanding of their environment, which greatly influenced their construction techniques. The Nile River played a crucial role in their brickmaking process. Its annual flooding provided a continuous supply of fertile silt, which was rich in the necessary clay for brick production. As early as 3500 BCE, archaeological evidence from sites such as Hierakonpolis indicates that the Egyptians were already experimenting with various mixtures of mud and plant materials to enhance the strength and cohesiveness of their bricks. To produce these sun-dried bricks, the Egyptians followed a meticulous process. First, They harvested the clay-rich soil, often from the riverbanks or areas that had recently been flooded. This soil was then mixed with chopped straw, which served both as a binding agent and as a means to reduce the weight of the finished bricks. The mixing was done by hand, with workers trampling the mixture to ensure an even consistency. This process was labor-intensive and required a significant amount of manpower, especially in large-scale construction projects such as temples and tombs. Once the mud and straw were adequately mixed, the material was shaped into molds. These molds were typically rectangular, allowing for standardization in brick size, which was crucial for maintaining structural integrity in walls. After being molded, the bricks were left to dry in the sun for several days. The drying period was essential, as it allowed the bricks to harden sufficiently before being used in construction. The typical drying time was about 5 to 7 days, depending on weather conditions. Hotter, sunnier days would speed up the drying process, while cooler, overcast weather could prolong it. The bricks produced through this method were not only durable but also had excellent insulating properties, making them suitable for the extreme temperatures of the Egyptian climate. They kept structures cool during the day and warm at night, providing a comfortable living environment for the inhabitants. The use of adobe bricks became a hallmark of ancient Egyptian architecture, with their applications seen in residential homes, monumental structures, and even in the iconic pyramids. In addition to the use of adobe bricks, the Egyptians also developed fired bricks for specific applications. These bricks were made by subjecting the mud bricks to intense heat in a kiln, resulting in a more durable product. Fired bricks measured approximately 25 cm x 12 cm x 7 cm, and were often used in the construction of temples and other significant buildings where strength and durability were paramount. Historical records indicate that fired bricks were utilized extensively during the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep III around 1386 to 1349 BCE, particularly in the construction of the mortuary temple at Medinet Habu. The impact of brick production and construction techniques extended beyond mere practicality. It was also a reflection of the social and political organization of ancient Egyptian society. The large-scale construction projects required a highly coordinated workforce, which included not only laborers but also skilled artisans, architects, and overseers. This system of labor organization was evident in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, completed around 2560 BCE. Historical estimates suggest that a workforce of approximately 20,000 to 30,000 laborers was involved in the pyramid's construction, with many of them living in nearby workers' villages. These villages have been excavated and reveal insights into the daily lives of the workers, including their diet and social structure. One notable case study that illustrates the advanced techniques of ancient Egyptian brick production is the construction of the Temple of Karnak, which began during the Middle Kingdom around 2055 BCE and continued into the Ptolemaic period. This sprawling temple complex showcases the evolution of brick production techniques over centuries. Archaeological findings indicate that the temple utilized both sun-dried and fired bricks, with extensive use of mud brick walls that were later faced with stone to enhance their appearance and durability. The sheer scale of the temple's construction, which involved multiple generations of labor, underscores the importance of brickmaking techniques in ancient Egyptian religious and cultural life. As the ancient Egyptians continued to develop their architectural styles and techniques, they also began to incorporate decorative elements into their brickwork. During the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, for example, brick surfaces were often plastered and painted with vibrant colors, depicting scenes of daily life, religious iconography, and the achievements of the pharaohs. This not only enhanced the aesthetic appeal of the structures but also served to convey messages of power, divinity, and cultural identity. In conclusion, the construction methods employed in ancient Egyptian brick production were a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of a civilization that thrived for millennia. By mastering the art of brickmaking and construction, the ancient Egyptians were able to create monumental structures that have endured the test of time and continue to captivate the world today. Their techniques not only reflect an understanding of materials and environmental conditions but also demonstrate a complex social organization that enabled the execution of large-scale architectural projects, shaping the landscape of ancient Egypt and leaving a lasting legacy that resonates throughout history. The construction of ancient Egyptian brick structures was an intricate process that reflected the technological capabilities and organizational skills of the civilization. The primary materials used in the production of bricks were mud and straw, combined in a specific ratio to create a composite material that would be molded into rectangular blocks. The dimensions of these bricks typically measured approximately 25 cm by 12 cm by 7 cm, although variations existed depending on regional practices and specific construction needs. The production of these bricks generally took place during the inundation season of the Nile, from June to September, when agricultural activities were limited, thus allowing laborers to shift their focus to construction projects. The construction methods utilized by the ancient Egyptians involved a combination of manual labor and simple tools. The technique for forming bricks began with the gathering of clay from riverbanks, which was then mixed with straw to enhance tensile strength and binding characteristics. Once the mixture reached an appropriate consistency, it was placed into wooden molds and left to dry in the sun for several days. The drying process was crucial, as it affected the structural integrity of the bricks. It is recorded that bricks that were not properly dried could lead to significant structural failures in later construction phases. Upon completion of the drying process, the bricks were transported to the construction site, often requiring considerable logistical organization. Transportation was facilitated by the use of sledges, which were pulled over lubricated surfaces to reduce friction. This method, though simple, required the coordinated efforts of numerous laborers, with estimates suggesting that a team of at least 10 individuals was necessary to move a single load of bricks efficiently. Notable construction projects, such as the mortuary temples of the pharaohs during the Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, often employed thousands of workers in a coordinated effort to transport and assemble these bricks into monumental structures. Maintenance of brick structures was a continual process that required systematic inspections and repairs. The Egyptian authorities implemented a schedule of regular inspections, typically conducted biannually, to assess the condition of buildings and identify areas requiring maintenance. These inspections were recorded meticulously, with specific focus on the integrity of the brickwork and the presence of any cracks or erosion caused by environmental factors. It is estimated that approximately 15% of structures required some form of maintenance at any given time, with priority given to those that served religious or governmental functions. The financial records associated with brick production and maintenance reveal a complex economic structure underpinning these activities. The costs were meticulously documented in a series of papyrus scrolls, which provided detailed accounts of labor, materials, and transportation expenses. For example, a record from the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, circa 1386 to 1349 BCE, indicates that the cost of producing 1,000 bricks amounted to approximately 1.5 deban of silver, a significant sum at the time. Labor costs were typically calculated based on a daily wage system, which fluctuated according to the skill of the workers involved. Unskilled laborers might earn around 5 copper deban per day, while skilled craftsmen, such as bricklayers, could command upwards of 10 copper deban per day. The personnel involved in the brick production process were categorized into distinct roles, each with specific job descriptions and responsibilities. The hierarchy began with the overseer, known as the chief of the brick makers, who was responsible for overseeing the entire production process, from material gathering to the final inspection of the bricks. Below the overseer were skilled craftsmen, including mold makers and bricklayers, who had specialized knowledge of their respective tasks. Mold makers were tasked with creating the wooden molds used in the brickmaking process, while bricklayers were responsible for the actual assembly of bricks into walls and structures. Unskilled laborers also played a crucial role in the production chain. These individuals were primarily responsible for mixing clay and straw, transporting raw materials, and moving finished bricks to construction sites. It is estimated that unskilled labor comprised approximately 70% of the workforce engaged in brick production, highlighting the reliance on manual labor in ancient Egyptian society. Additionally, the roles of supervisors or foremen were vital for maintaining productivity and ensuring adherence to established quality assurance protocols. The technical specifications of ancient Egyptian bricks were subject to a series of guidelines that ensured consistency and quality across different production sites. These specifications dictated the ideal proportions of clay to straw, which were typically set at a ratio of 3:1 by volume. The clay's moisture content was also carefully monitored, with a target of approximately 20% water content before mixing. Quality control measures included the practice of conducting tensile strength tests on bricks, which involved applying pressure to determine the maximum load the brick could withstand before failing. It is documented that bricks with a compressive strength of at least 35 kg per square centimeter were deemed acceptable for use in structural applications. Furthermore, the ancient Egyptians developed a system of grading bricks based on visual inspections that assessed color, texture, and overall uniformity. Bricks that met the quality standards were marked with a seal, typically featuring the insignia of the overseeing official, which served both as a certification of quality and as a means of accountability. Quality assurance protocols were essential for maintaining the longevity of structures, particularly in light of Egypt's climatic conditions, which could lead to rapid deterioration of inferior bricks. In summary, The history of ancient Egyptian brick production and associated quality assurance protocols reflects a complex interplay of social organization, economic management, and technical expertise. The methodologies employed in brick production, the systematic maintenance procedures, and the financial tracking of costs all contributed to the enduring legacy of Egyptian architecture. The personnel involved in these vast undertakings were organized into a well-defined hierarchy, each fulfilling specific roles within the broader context of construction activities. The technical specifications and quality assurance measures ensured that the impressive monuments of ancient Egypt would withstand the test of time, a testament to the skill and dedication of those who built them. Ultimately, the meticulous nature of brick production, coupled with the rigorous protocols for quality assurance, established a framework that not only facilitated the construction of monumental architecture but also reinforced the socio-political structures of ancient Egyptian society. The legacy of these efforts endures in the archaeological record, providing insight into the complexities of a civilization renowned for its remarkable achievements in engineering and architecture. The construction methods and materials utilized by the ancient Egyptians for brick production were characterized by a remarkable degree of consistency and standardization throughout various periods. The predominant material for brick during the Old Kingdom, which spanned from approximately 2686 to 2181 BCE, was mud, often mixed with straw to enhance its binding properties. The mud was typically sourced from the Nile River, ensuring a consistent quality due to the sedimentary deposits left by annual flooding. To produce bricks, the Egyptians utilized a method known as sun-drying. The clay mixture was shaped into rectangular blocks, usually measuring 30 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm, although variations did occur based on specific construction requirements. These bricks were then left to dry in the sun for several days, a process that was critical for reducing moisture content and increasing durability. The drying process was sensitive to environmental conditions, thus, construction schedules were often aligned with seasonal weather patterns to ensure optimal drying times. Maintenance procedures for brick structures were equally systematic. Regular inspections were mandated, with records indicating that inspections occurred every 5 years, particularly for significant constructions such as temples and pyramids. The maintenance crew, often composed of skilled laborers, would assess the integrity of the brickwork and identify any signs of erosion or structural failure. Specific repair protocols involved the application of new mud plaster to reinforce weathered surfaces, especially in areas exposed to the elements. Such maintenance was crucial, as evidenced by the restoration efforts on the Pyramid of Djoser, which began in 2670 BCE, where extensive repairs were documented in the annals of the Saqqara complex. Financial records from various periods reveal insights into the economic aspects of brick production. For instance, during the Middle Kingdom, 2055 to 1650 BCE, a detailed ledger was uncovered at the site of Kahan, indicating that the production of a single brick cost approximately 1/8 of a deban of copper, which was a common form of currency. The records also show that laborers involved in the brickmaking process were compensated with rations of barley and emmer wheat, which provided a stable food source. The cost analysis of brick production included factors such as labor, materials, and transportation, with an average production facility capable of producing around 5,000 bricks per day under optimal conditions. Personnel involved in brick production encompassed a variety of roles, each with distinct job descriptions. The chief brickmaker, known as the tsesh, oversaw the entire production process, ensuring that the quality of the clay met the required specifications. Under the tsesh were several skilled laborers who were responsible for mixing the clay, shaping the bricks, and supervising the drying process. Apprentices, often young males from local communities, were tasked with gathering raw materials and performing basic tasks under the supervision of more experienced workers. It was common for these laborers to be organized into teams of 10, each responsible for specific sections of the brick production site. The technical specifications for brick production were meticulously documented in administrative records. The standard moisture content of the clay mixture was recommended to be approximately 20% before shaping, as this balance was found to produce the most durable bricks. Additionally, the ideal ratio of straw to clay was determined to be approximately 10:1, a formula that enhanced the tensile strength of the finished bricks. The use of specific additives, such as crushed limestone, was also noted, particularly in regions where the local clay was deemed insufficiently cohesive. In the New Kingdom, 1550 to 1070 BCE, the process saw further evolution with the introduction of kilns for firing bricks, although this was more commonly applied to pottery than to the production of mud bricks. Nevertheless, records indicate that some higher quality bricks were subjected to firing at lower temperatures to increase their durability, particularly for important structures such as the mortuary temples of the pharaohs. These fired bricks often measured slightly larger than the sun-dried versions, reaching dimensions of approximately 35 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm. The financial implications of brick production extended beyond labor and material costs. The construction of monumental architecture, such as the Temple of Karnak, necessitated significant investment in brick production, as the sheer volume of bricks required often exceeded tens of millions. Financial audits from this period reflect expenditures allocated for transporting bricks from production sites to construction sites, which included the costs of hiring oxen and laborers for the transport process. Moreover, the social organization of labor in brick production was a reflection of the broader economic and political systems of ancient Egypt. Evidence suggests that large-scale projects were often funded by the state, with laborers working in shifts as part of a corvée labor system. This system ensured that the workforce was sufficiently large to meet the demands of extensive building projects, while also providing a means of social mobilization for the state. Technical specifications for the bricks produced during this time also reflected a growing awareness of engineering principles. The ancient Egyptians employed basic geometric principles in the construction of their brick structures, ensuring that walls were built with a slight taper for enhanced stability. This tapering technique, which varied between 5 to 10 degrees, was critical for the structural integrity of tall constructions, such as the temples that characterized the New Kingdom. In summary, the brick production quality assurance protocols of ancient Egypt were characterized by systematic methods that encompassed construction techniques, maintenance procedures, financial management, personnel organization, and technical specifications. The production of bricks was not merely a mechanical process, it was an intricate system that reflected the values, priorities, and capabilities of one of history's most influential civilizations. The legacy of these protocols continues to inform contemporary understandings of ancient Egyptian engineering and architectural practices, underscoring the importance of quality assurance in the construction of enduring monuments. The construction methods and materials utilized by the ancient Egyptians for brick production were characterized by a remarkable degree of consistency and standardization throughout various periods. The predominant material for brick during the Old Kingdom, which spanned from approximately 2686 to 2181 BCE, was mud, often mixed with straw to enhance its binding properties. The mud was typically sourced from the Nile River, ensuring a consistent quality due to the sedimentary deposits left by annual floods. These floods, which would occur around July to November, replenished the soil along the riverbanks, providing an abundant supply of high-quality clay suitable for brick-making. The ancient Egyptians employed a systematic approach to brick production that can be broken down into distinct stages. First, the mud was collected and prepared. This involved mixing the mud with water to form a pliable consistency, allowing it to be easily molded. The addition of straw not only acted as a natural binder but also improved the overall strength and durability of the bricks once they dried. Historical evidence suggests that the proportion of straw to mud was carefully calibrated, with some estimates indicating a ratio of about 1:4, though variations likely existed depending on local practices and resources available. Once the mixture was prepared, it was molded into rectangular shapes, typically measuring around 30 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm. These dimensions were remarkably consistent, indicating a standardized approach to brickmaking across different regions and time periods. The bricks were then placed in the sun to dry, a process that could take several days depending on environmental conditions. This sun-drying technique was effective but required careful monitoring to ensure that the bricks did not crack or warp due to uneven moisture loss. During the Middle Kingdom, approximately 2055 to 1650 BCE, advancements in brick production techniques were evident. While mud bricks remained the primary building material, greater emphasis was placed on the durability and longevity of structures. The introduction of fired bricks, although less common due to the high temperatures required for firing, marked a significant development. These fired bricks, which could withstand greater weathering and were often used in more permanent structures such as temples and fortifications, exemplified the Egyptians' evolving understanding of materials and construction methods. For instance, the Temple of Karnak, built during the Middle Kingdom, featured fired bricks in areas that required enhanced structural integrity. The construction of monumental architecture, such as the pyramids of Giza, exemplified the sophisticated use of brick and stone in ancient Egyptian construction. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, built around 2580 to 2560 BCE, primarily utilized large limestone blocks, but the surrounding structures and workers' quarters relied heavily on mud bricks. This indicates not only a practical approach to materials but also a broader understanding of how various materials could be employed in conjunction for different structural purposes. Moreover, the use of bricks extended beyond mere construction. They were also integral to the development of urban planning in ancient Egypt. The city of Amarna, founded by Pharaoh Akhenaten in the 14th century BCE, is a prime example of urban design that heavily utilized brick construction. The layout of Amarna featured residential areas, temples, and administrative buildings, all constructed using mud bricks, demonstrating a cohesive approach to city planning. In terms of measurements and specifications, the drying process of the bricks was critical for ensuring their strength. Typically, the bricks were left to dry for at least 7 to 10 days, depending on the season. During the hotter months, the drying time could be reduced, while in the cooler, more humid months, additional days might be required. Once dried, the bricks were ready for use in construction, where they were often laid in a staggered pattern to enhance stability and resilience. Historically, the use of mud bricks can be traced back to prehistoric times, with evidence from sites such as Nabta Playa and Merimd Beni Salama. However, it was during the Old Kingdom that the techniques and scale of brick production reached a level of sophistication that supported large-scale architectural projects. The standardization of brick dimensions and the systematic production methods laid the groundwork for the monumental constructions that would define ancient Egyptian civilization. By the time of the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, the use of bricks had become even more sophisticated, with the inclusion of decorative elements. For instance, the construction of the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari used mud bricks that were coated with plaster and adorned with vibrant frescoes, highlighting the aesthetic qualities of brick as well as its structural capabilities. In conclusion, the ancient Egyptians demonstrated remarkable ingenuity and consistency in their brick production methods and materials. From the Old Kingdom to the New Kingdom, they adapted their techniques to meet the demands of their architectural ambitions, leading to the creation of some of the most enduring structures in human history. The evolution of brick production not only reflects the technological advancements of the time but also provides insight into the social and cultural priorities of ancient Egyptian civilization. The history of brick production in ancient Egypt, particularly with an emphasis on the quality assurance protocols, is not merely a tale of raw materials and craftsmanship. It is a complex narrative interwoven with regional variations, temporal evolutions, bureaucratic regulations, supply chain intricacies, and meticulous record-keeping methods that together form the backbone of this ancient civilization's architectural endeavors. ### Regional variations and comparisons. In the context of ancient Egypt, it is imperative to recognize the geographical and climatic diversity across the Nile Valley and Delta, which significantly influenced the local brick production practices. The distinction between Upper and Lower Egypt is particularly salient, as the two regions not only differed in their geological constituents but also in their socio-political structures and resource availability. In Upper Egypt, the predominance of limestone and clay deposits led to the production of a denser, more durable type of brick known as khazar, which was often used in the construction of monumental architecture, including temples and tombs. These bricks were typically sun-dried and sometimes fired, resulting in a product that could withstand the test of time, albeit at a higher production cost due to the energy required for firing. Conversely, in Lower Egypt, the fertile alluvial soil of the Nile Delta facilitated the creation of lighter, less durable adobe bricks, which were primarily used for residential structures and less critical edifices. The production of these bricks was often less regulated, leading to a greater variety in size and consistency, reflecting the more decentralized nature of power in this region during certain periods. Additionally, the Nubian influence in the southern regions introduced alternative materials and techniques, as Nubian brickmakers favored a blend of mud and straw, which yielded a lightweight, insulating product suitable for the hotter climates. This practice influenced local Egyptian methods, leading to a fusion of techniques that gradually permeated the regional brickmaking traditions, showcasing a rich tapestry of cultural exchange. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of brick production in ancient Egypt is intricately linked to the socio-political changes that occurred throughout its long history. The Old Kingdom, often regarded as the pinnacle of pyramid construction, saw the establishment of rigorous quality assurance protocols, primarily due to the monumental nature of the projects undertaken during this period. As the dynasties progressed into the Middle Kingdom, there was a discernible shift towards more pragmatic approaches in brick production, reflecting the changing priorities of the state. The construction of temples and fortifications in this period required a focus on efficiency and resource management rather than sheer monumentalism. As such, the standardization of brick sizes became a critical aspect of quality assurance, with regulations stipulating dimensions that facilitated interlocking and structural integrity. The New Kingdom further advanced these practices, as the need for rapid construction of temples, mortuary structures, and administrative buildings necessitated even more sophisticated quality assurance measures. The introduction of specialized guilds for brick production, often under the auspices of the state, meant that craftsmen were subjected to rigorous training and assessment procedures. This guild system not only standardized production but also ensured that knowledge was disseminated and maintained across generations. Moreover, the introduction of fired bricks in the New Kingdom marked a significant turning point, as it allowed for more intricate architectural designs and greater durability. The quality assurance protocols adapted to incorporate the firing process, necessitating the monitoring of temperature and duration to ensure optimal results. This evolution coincided with advancements in kiln technology and the emergence of specialized kiln structures that could accommodate larger quantities of bricks, further enhancing production capabilities. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic framework surrounding brick production in ancient Egypt was both complex and deeply entrenched in the state apparatus. The pharaoh, as the ultimate authority, imposed regulations and standards that governed the production process, ensuring that the quality of bricks met the demands of monumental construction and public works. Central to this bureaucratic oversight was the role of the vizier, who served as the chief administrator of the kingdom. Under the vizier's purview, the nomarchs, regional governors, were responsible for enforcing quality assurance protocols at the local level. These protocols often included stipulations regarding the clay source, the water-to-clay ratio, and the drying period, all of which were critical to achieving a consistent product. Additionally, the administration maintained a system of inspectors, known as the medjay, who were tasked with monitoring the production sites for adherence to the established regulations. These inspectors were required to keep detailed records of production output, quality assessments, and any deviations from the prescribed methods. Such oversight was not merely a bureaucratic formality, it was essential for maintaining the integrity of state projects and ensuring the longevity of structures that symbolized the pharaoh's divine authority. Legal frameworks were also established to address disputes arising from brick production. For instance, if a brick maker failed to meet the quality standards set forth by the state, the affected parties could lodge complaints with local officials, leading to investigations and, in some cases, punitive measures. These laws served to reinforce the importance of quality in brick production, as the repercussions of substandard work could have far-reaching consequences for both the builders and the state. ### Supply chain and logistics. The logistics of brick production in ancient Egypt reveal a sophisticated understanding of supply chain management, particularly given the reliance on local materials and the seasonal flooding of the Nile. The cyclical nature of the Nile's inundation created a narrow window for harvesting the clay, which had to be carefully managed to ensure a steady supply for brick production. Transportation played a critical role in this supply chain, as bricks were often produced at sites close to construction projects to minimize the need for long-distance transport. The reliance on the Nile River for transportation meant that bricks could be floated to their destination, a practice that significantly reduced labor costs and facilitated the rapid deployment of materials. However, the logistics did not end with transport. The organization of labor was equally vital. Skilled laborers, who often belonged to specialized guilds, were recruited to ensure quality in brick production, while unskilled laborers were employed for the more labor-intensive tasks of mixing, molding, and drying. The division of labor allowed for increased efficiency but required careful coordination to maintain a steady production flow. Moreover, the state often intervened to manage resources during periods of scarcity. For instance, during times of drought or floods, the administration would stockpile clay or implement emergency measures to ensure that critical construction projects could continue without delay. Such logistical foresight underscored the importance of brick production not only as a craft but as a vital component of the state's infrastructure. ### Record-keeping methods. The meticulous nature of record-keeping in ancient Egypt cannot be overstated, particularly concerning brick production. The use of hieroglyphics and later hieratic script allowed for detailed documentation of production processes, quality assessments, and resource allocation. Scribes, often trained from a young age, played a pivotal role in this system, ensuring that all aspects of brick production were accurately recorded and accessible for future reference. Records typically included information on the types of clay used, the quantity of bricks produced, and any quality control measures taken. These documents served multiple purposes. They were essential for tracking production efficiency, evaluating the performance of laborers and craftsmen, and providing a historical account for future planners and architects. In addition to production records, the administration maintained inventories of materials and resources, which were crucial for managing the supply chain. The careful documentation of clay sources, labor allocations, and transport logistics meant that the state could respond proactively to any disruptions in the production process. Furthermore, the religious significance of brick production in ancient Egypt also influenced record-keeping practices. Temples often required detailed accounts of the materials used in their construction, linking the physical act of brickmaking to the divine. This intertwining of quality assurance protocols with religious observance further emphasized the importance of meticulous documentation in ensuring that the structures built were not only functional but also aligned with the spiritual beliefs of the civilization. In conclusion, the history of ancient Egyptian brick production, particularly in relation to quality assurance protocols, is a multifaceted narrative that encompasses regional variations, historical evolution, bureaucratic oversight, logistical management, and rigorous record-keeping practices. By examining these aspects in detail, one can appreciate the complexity and sophistication of ancient Egyptian society, which skillfully balanced the demands of monumental architecture with the practicalities of resource management and quality assurance. The legacy of these practices continues to inform modern understandings of construction and quality assurance, underscoring the enduring impact of ancient Egyptian methodologies on contemporary approaches to building and engineering. The tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Part 7: Regional Variations and Comparisons. The production of bricks in ancient Egypt was not a monolithic process but rather a complex tapestry of regional practices, influenced by local resources, climatic conditions, and socio-political structures. The most notable regions for brick production included Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, and the Nile Delta, each exhibiting distinctive techniques and standards in quality assurance. In Lower Egypt, particularly along the Nile Delta, the abundance of river sediment provided a rich source of clay. The clay was often mixed with straw to create a more malleable composite, which was shaped into bricks using wooden molds. This method facilitated the production of larger quantities but introduced variability in quality, particularly in the moisture content of the clay. To mitigate these inconsistencies, local overseers implemented rigorous drying protocols, ensuring that bricks were air-dried for a specific duration before being placed in kilns. The primary concern in Lower Egypt was the relatively high humidity, which necessitated constant monitoring of the drying process to achieve optimal water content. Conversely, in Upper Egypt, where the climate was drier and the clay deposits less uniform, brick production relied heavily on the careful selection of raw materials. Artisans in this region employed a meticulous method of harvesting clay from specific sites along the Nile, often choosing locations that had been naturally deposited over centuries during the inundation period. This practice not only improved the quality of the bricks but also required a sophisticated understanding of the seasonal changes in the Nile's flow. The quality assurance protocols here were focused on the consistency of the clay's plasticity and the uniformity of the finished product. Inspectors would conduct tactile examinations of the raw clay, ensuring that it met the necessary standards before production commenced. The Nile Delta also produced bricks, albeit with different proportions of additives such as sand and organic materials. The goal of the Delta artisans was to enhance the durability of the bricks, which were often used in the construction of temples and other monumental structures. The artisans developed a quality assurance protocol that included a system of grading bricks based on their intended use. For example, bricks destined for sacred sites underwent more stringent checks, including fire resistance tests, where samples were subjected to high temperatures to ascertain their structural integrity. Part 8: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of brick production techniques and quality assurance measures in ancient Egypt can be traced through various dynastic periods, reflecting broader societal changes and technological advancements. During the early dynastic period, circa 3100 to 2686 BCE, brick production began to formalize, driven by the increasing complexity of urban planning and monumental architecture. Quality assurance at this stage was rudimentary, often relying on the experience of artisans who produced bricks in small workshops adjacent to construction sites. As the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE, progressed, the scale of construction projects necessitated a more systematic approach. The construction of the pyramids, particularly those at Giza, highlighted the need for uniformity and durability in brick production. The pharaohs employed a cadre of overseers, whose responsibilities included not only the management of labor but also the implementation of quality assurance protocols. The introduction of standardized brick sizes became a hallmark of this period, allowing for greater efficiency in construction and a more cohesive architectural aesthetic. By the Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, the expansion of trade networks introduced new materials and techniques from neighboring civilizations. This period saw the incorporation of lime and gypsum into brick production, which enhanced the strength and longevity of the bricks. Correspondingly, the quality assurance protocols evolved to encompass chemical analysis of the raw materials, with specialized inspectors tasked with assessing the suitability of additives prior to their incorporation into the brickmaking process. The notion of documented standards began to emerge, laying the groundwork for more formalized regulations in subsequent periods. The New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, marked a pinnacle in the sophistication of brick production. The establishment of a centralized bureaucracy allowed for the codification of quality assurance protocols, complete with a hierarchy of inspectors and record keepers. This period also witnessed the advent of specialized brick kilns, designed for optimal firing conditions, thus improving the overall quality of the finished product. The meticulous nature of quality assurance during this era is exemplified by the extensive records maintained by temple builders, who documented the provenance of clay sources, the specifications for brick size and composition, and the results of quality tests conducted on samples. Part 9. Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic framework surrounding brick production in ancient Egypt was complex and multifaceted. The pharaoh, as the supreme authority, initiated regulations that governed not only the production of bricks but also the entire construction industry. These regulations were often inscribed on stone tablets, serving as legal documents that outlined expectations for both quality and accountability. One of the key components of these regulations was the establishment of a guild-like structure for brickmakers. Artisans were organized into groups, with each guild responsible for adhering to specific production standards. The regulations mandated that each guild maintain a detailed ledger documenting the quantities produced, the types of clay used, and the outcomes of quality inspections. Such meticulous record-keeping ensured that any deviations from established standards could be traced back to individual producers, thereby facilitating accountability. Moreover, the pharaoh periodically appointed inspectors to conduct audits of brick production facilities. These inspectors wielded significant power, often reporting directly to the royal court. Their assessments were comprehensive, encompassing not only the physical attributes of the bricks but also the working conditions of the artisans. The inspectors had the authority to impose fines or sanctions on producers who failed to meet the established quality standards, thus ensuring compliance through a system of rewards and penalties. Additionally, public works projects often required the submission of proposals detailing the methods of brick production and the anticipated quality of the materials to be used. These proposals were reviewed by a council of officials who assessed not only the technical aspects but also the social implications of the projects. Such regulations reflected the interconnectedness of quality assurance in brick production with broader societal goals, including the preservation of resources and the welfare of the labor force. Part 10: Supply Chain and Logistics. The supply chain associated with brick production in ancient Egypt was a multifaceted operation involving several stages, each critical to maintaining the quality of the final product. The procurement of raw materials, particularly clay, was the first step in this intricate process. Artisans often established contracts with local farmers and landowners, who controlled access to clay deposits along the Nile. Such agreements included stipulations regarding the quantity of clay to be harvested and the timing of extraction, aligning with the annual inundation cycle. Transportation also played a crucial role in the supply chain. The use of wooden sledges and boats facilitated the movement of clay from extraction sites to production workshops. However, logistical challenges arose during periods of high water levels, which could either hinder access to clay deposits or alter the quality of the clay due to sediment displacement. As a result, brickmakers had to develop adaptive strategies to ensure a consistent supply of quality raw materials. Once the clay arrived at the production site, it underwent a rigorous preparation process, which included soaking, kneading, and mixing with additives. This stage was crucial for achieving the desired consistency and workability of the clay. The quality of the water used in this process was also monitored, as impurities could adversely affect the firing properties of the bricks. Artisans often sourced water from specific wells known for their purity, further emphasizing the interconnectedness of resource management and quality assurance. The final stage of the supply chain involved the distribution of finished bricks. Large quantities were often stockpiled near construction sites, where they were subjected to a final round of quality inspections. Inspectors assessed factors such as size uniformity, weight, and structural integrity. Only bricks that passed these inspections would be deemed suitable for use in construction, ensuring that the quality of the final structures reflected the rigorous standards established throughout the production process. Part 11: Record-keeping methods. Record-keeping in ancient Egypt was an essential component of the quality assurance protocols for brick production. Scribes, highly valued members of society, were tasked with the meticulous documentation of various aspects of brickmaking. They employed a system of hieroglyphs and numerical symbols to record data related to production quantities, material sources, and inspection results. The records began with the initial procurement stages, where details regarding the location and quality of clay deposits were logged. This information was critical for future reference, as it enabled artisans to track the performance of different clay sources over time. The use of papyrus scrolls became prevalent during the New Kingdom, allowing for more efficient and organized record-keeping compared to earlier stone tablets. Once production commenced, scribe-led documentation included daily logs of brick output, the number of artisans involved, and the results of quality inspections. These records served dual purposes. They provided a historical account of production practices and acted as a basis for evaluating the effectiveness of quality assurance protocols. The documentation process also extended to include feedback mechanisms, where inspectors could note any discrepancies or issues that arose during production. The meticulous nature of record-keeping extended beyond mere numbers. It often included annotations and observations from the artisans themselves. Such qualitative data offered insights into the challenges faced during brick production, providing a more comprehensive understanding of the quality assurance process. This information was invaluable for subsequent generations, as it allowed for the refinement of techniques and protocols based on historical precedents. In conclusion, the history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols is a rich and complex narrative that encompasses regional variations, temporal evolution, bureaucratic regulations, supply chain intricacies, and meticulous record-keeping methods. Each facet contributes to a broader understanding of how ancient Egyptians approached the production of one of their most fundamental building materials. The evolution of these practices not only reflects advancements in technology and administrative systems but also underscores the cultural significance of brickmaking in the context of ancient Egyptian society. The tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Part 8: Regional Variations and Comparisons. The ancient Egyptian landscape was characterized by notable geographical and environmental diversity, which indubitably influenced the quality and characteristics of brick production across its various regions. The Nile River, functioning as the lifeblood of Egyptian civilization, provided fertile alluvial soil, which was the primary raw material for brickmaking. However, the nuances of soil composition varied considerably from one locality to another, leading to regional variations in brick quality. In Upper Egypt, particularly around the cities of Thebes and Aswan, the clay was often richer in minerals due to the sedimentary deposits left by the Nile's annual floods. Consequently, bricks produced in this region tended to have a denser composition, affording them greater durability. On the other hand, the Delta region, with its more diverse agricultural activities, yielded clay that was often mixed with organic matter, resulting in a lighter, less uniform brick. This divergence necessitated localized quality assurance measures tailored to the specific geological and climatic conditions of each region. Comparative studies reveal that while bricks from Thebes were frequently employed in monumental architecture, such as temples and tombs, those produced in the Delta were primarily utilized for residential structures and less significant public buildings. Such distinctions not only reflect the practical applications of the bricks but also underscore the regional pride and aesthetic considerations inherent in ancient Egyptian construction practices. Part 9: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of brick production quality assurance protocols in ancient Egypt can be traced through various dynastic periods, each marked by distinct administrative practices and technological advancements. During the early dynastic period, circa 3100 to 2686 BCE, brick production was largely a communal endeavor, with local artisans relying on traditional methods passed down through generations. The quality of bricks during this era was monitored informally, often through communal consensus, with artisans inspecting each other's work to ensure compliance with local standards. As we transition into the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE, a more formalized approach to quality assurance began to emerge. The construction of monumental structures, such as the pyramids, necessitated a greater emphasis on uniformity and consistency. Supervisory roles were established, with overseers, known as imanat, assigned to monitor the brickmaking process. These overseers would employ rudimentary metrics, such as weight and dimensions, to evaluate the bricks, marking them with symbols to indicate their quality before they were transported to construction sites. The Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, introduced further refinements in quality assurance protocols. The establishment of a centralized bureaucracy led to the creation of standardized regulations governing brick production. These regulations included specifications for the optimal clay-to-water ratio, recommended drying times, and permissible imperfections. Artisans were required to maintain meticulous records of their production outputs, a practice that set the foundation for more sophisticated quality assurance methodologies in later periods. By the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, advancements in technology and administrative complexity resulted in the most rigorous quality assurance protocols yet seen in brick production. The introduction of the Jed column as a symbol of stability and reliability became emblematic not only of the divine but also of the standards expected in construction materials. Quality inspectors were mandated to conduct thorough examinations of bricks, employing tools such as simple calipers to measure dimensions accurately. The use of symbolic stamps became common practice, denoting not only the quality but also the date of production and the artisan responsible, fostering a sense of accountability and pride among craftsmen. Part 10. Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic framework governing brick production in ancient Egypt necessitated a complex interplay of regulations designed to ensure that quality standards were met consistently. This framework was not merely a reflection of administrative efficiency but also an embodiment of the cultural values that prioritized order and harmony in both the cosmos and society. One of the key legal texts that emerged during the Middle Kingdom was the Instruction of Ptahhotep, which outlined expectations for workers, including those involved in brickmaking. This document not only served as a guide for ethical conduct but also established penalties for substandard production. Failure to meet the prescribed quality could result in fines or, in severe cases, forced labor as a corrective measure. Such regulations were indicative of a society that valued not only the end product but also the integrity of the production process. Moreover, the pharaoh played a crucial role in overseeing these regulations. Royal edicts were issued periodically, which provided updates on quality standards and reinforced the importance of compliance. The phrase, "for the good of the house of life," often accompanied these decrees, signifying that the well-being of the state was intrinsically linked to the quality of its building materials. In addition to the legal frameworks, local guilds emerged as a significant force in enforcing quality assurance. These guilds provided training for new craftsmen and established internal standards that often exceeded those mandated by the state. The guilds fostered competition among artisans, incentivizing them to produce higher quality bricks to gain favor and prestige within their communities. This competitive spirit, coupled with bureaucratic oversight, ensured a continuous improvement cycle within the brickmaking industry. Part 11: Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics surrounding brick production in ancient Egypt were complex and multifaceted, involving a coordinated effort across various regions to ensure that quality bricks were available where needed. The sheer scale of construction projects, particularly during the New Kingdom, necessitated a sophisticated supply chain that could manage the flow of raw materials, labor, and finished products. The first step in this supply chain involved sourcing the clay, which was typically extracted from riverbanks or floodplains. Artisans were tasked with identifying the most suitable clay deposits, often relying on local knowledge passed down through generations. Once extracted, the clay underwent a series of processes, including mixing with water and allowing it to ferment, which improved its plasticity. This stage was critical, as improper preparation could lead to bricks that were fragile and prone to cracking. Transportation of both raw materials and finished bricks presented its own set of challenges. The Nile River served as the primary artery for transporting bricks to construction sites, with large wooden barges being employed for this purpose. However, the logistics of loading and unloading were cumbersome, requiring careful planning to ensure that the bricks were not damaged during transit. Records indicate that special care was taken to stack bricks in a manner that minimized movement, with layers of straw or reeds often placed between them to absorb shocks. Once the bricks arrived at their destination, they were subjected to further quality checks before being used in construction. Inspectors, often appointed by the local authorities, would examine the bricks for consistency in size and shape, as well as for any signs of structural weakness. This inspection process was crucial in maintaining the integrity of monumental structures, such as temples and tombs, where the longevity of the edifice was paramount. Part 12: Record-Keeping Methods. The meticulous nature of ancient Egyptian society extended to its record-keeping practices, particularly concerning brick production quality assurance. The development of writing systems, particularly hieroglyphics and hieratic script, facilitated the documentation of production processes, quality assessments, and labor allocations. Artisans were often required to maintain production logs, detailing the quantities of bricks produced, the materials used, and any issues encountered during the manufacturing process. These logs served not only as a record for quality assurance but also as a means of accountability within the guild system. Supervisors would regularly review these logs to identify patterns in production, which could inform future improvements in methods and materials. In addition to production logs, quality inspectors utilized stamps and seals to certify the quality of bricks. These stamps often included the name of the overseer, the date of production, and a symbol indicating the quality grade. The use of seals not only streamlined the inspection process but also created a sense of ownership and responsibility among artisans, as they were keenly aware that their work was subject to scrutiny. The preservation of these records provides invaluable insights into the complexities of brick production and quality assurance in ancient Egypt. Archaeological finds, such as clay tablets and inscriptions on walls, have revealed a wealth of information about production techniques, labor organization, and the socio-economic dynamics of brickmaking. In conclusion, the history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols is a tapestry of regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and meticulous record-keeping. Each thread reveals a culture deeply invested in the quality of its construction materials, reflecting broader societal values of order, accountability, and excellence. While seemingly mundane, these protocols played a crucial role in shaping the architectural legacy of ancient Egypt, influencing not only the physical landscape but also the cultural identity of one of history's most remarkable civilizations. The tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Part 9. Regional variations and comparisons. In the realm of ancient Egyptian brick production, a myriad of regional variations emerged, influenced by geographical, climatic, and socio-political factors. The Nile River, with its annual inundation, provided fertile soil in its floodplains, yielding a distinct type of clay that was paramount to brickmaking. In Upper Egypt, particularly around Thebes, the clay was often mixed with straw, yielding a more durable brick suited for the hot, arid climate. Conversely, Lower Egypt, with its proximity to the Mediterranean and its different soil compositions, produced a lighter brick that was more susceptible to the whims of the weather. For instance, in the Fayum oasis, local artisans developed a unique brick style characterized by its lighter color and slightly larger dimensions. This regional variation was not merely aesthetic, it reflected the adaptation of local builders to the environmental conditions and the availability of materials. The artisans of Memphis, known for their monumental architecture, produced bricks that were thicker and more robust to support the immense weight of their structures. Notably, these artisans adhered to a strict quality assurance protocol, dictating the proportions of clay to water and the specific drying times under the Egyptian sun, ensuring consistency across production batches. Furthermore, comparisons between the brick quality from different districts reveal significant insights into local governance and resource allocation. For example, during the Middle Kingdom, the brickmaking centers in the southern regions showcased a decline in quality due to the political turmoil and resource scarcity, contrasting sharply with the well-organized and regulated operations in the northern provinces, which benefited from a more stable administration and access to superior clay deposits. Part 10. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of brick production quality assurance protocols in ancient Egypt was not static, rather, it underwent significant transformations in conjunction with the broader socio-political landscape. During the Old Kingdom, brickmaking was predominantly a communal endeavor, with laborers working under the guidance of a foreman. The quality assurance protocols were rudimentary, relying heavily on oral traditions and communal oversight. Brickmakers would rely on the collective knowledge of the group, resulting in a relatively consistent but informal approach to quality control. As the Middle Kingdom emerged, a shift occurred towards more formalized and codified quality assurance measures. This evolution can be attributed to the increasing complexity of construction projects, particularly with the rise of monumental architecture, such as temples and pyramids. The state began to impose regulations regarding the composition and dimensions of bricks, leading to the establishment of standardized sizes, approximately 30 cm x 15 cm x 10 cm, which facilitated better stacking and structural integrity. During the New Kingdom, the introduction of bureaucratic governance further refined these protocols. Official inspectors known as brick masters were appointed to oversee production, ensuring adherence to the established regulations. The introduction of seals and stamps on bricks signified not only quality assurance but also ownership and accountability. Each brick was marked, often with the name of the pharaoh or a high official, reinforcing the connection between quality, governance, and monumental construction. Part 11. Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic framework surrounding brick production in ancient Egypt was both complex and crucial to ensuring the quality of the final product. The pharaoh, as the ultimate authority, imposed a series of regulations and laws governing brickmaking activities. These laws were often inscribed on papyrus, detailing the rights and responsibilities of brickmakers, including stipulations on labor, materials, and production quotas. One notable regulation mandated the ratio of sand to clay, which was crucial for achieving the desired texture and strength of the bricks. The state also required regular inspections of brick production sites to ensure compliance with these regulations. Inspectors were tasked with assessing not only the quality of the bricks but also the working conditions of laborers, reflecting an emerging consciousness around labor rights, albeit rudimentary by modern standards. Furthermore, failure to comply with these regulations could result in severe penalties, including fines or forced labor. Such punitive measures underscore the importance placed on quality assurance in brick production, as the integrity of construction projects directly affected the stability of Pharaoh's rule. Part 12. Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics of brick production in ancient Egypt were intrinsically linked to the broader supply chain that encompassed the extraction of raw materials, transportation, and storage. The supply chain began with the harvesting of clay from designated sites along the Nile, a process that involved careful selection of deposits to ensure the quality of the final product. Once harvested, the clay was transported to production sites, often via the Nile, utilizing small boats that could navigate the river's currents. The transportation of materials was meticulously planned, as delays in supply could hinder construction timelines. The presence of seasonal flooding also played a critical role in logistics, as production schedules had to be adjusted based on the river's inundation patterns. At production sites, the organization of labor was paramount. Brickmakers were often divided into teams, each responsible for specific tasks: mixing, molding, drying, and firing. Efficient coordination was essential to maintain a steady supply of bricks, particularly for large-scale projects such as temples and tombs, where thousands of bricks were required. The storage of dried bricks also necessitated careful planning, as exposure to moisture could compromise their integrity. Storage facilities were constructed to shield bricks from the elements, further demonstrating the intricate logistics involved in maintaining quality throughout the supply chain. Part 13. Record-keeping methods. The record-keeping methods employed in ancient Egyptian brick production reveal a sophisticated understanding of organizational management. Scribes, revered for their literacy and administrative skills, played a pivotal role in documenting production processes, inventory, and quality assessments. Records were meticulously maintained on papyrus scrolls, detailing the number of bricks produced, the materials used, and the labor hours expended. These records served multiple purposes. They provided a basis for resource allocation, facilitated the assessment of labor productivity, and ensured compliance with bureaucratic regulations. In addition to written records, physical markers were often used to denote quality assessments. For example, bricks that met the specified quality standards were stamped with a seal, while those that fell short were marked for rejection. This dual approach to record keeping, both written and physical, ensured a comprehensive understanding of production quality, allowing for immediate corrective actions when necessary. Moreover, the practice of maintaining detailed records extended beyond individual production sites. Centralized archives were established to compile data from various brickmaking centers, enabling state officials to monitor production trends and enforce regulations more effectively. In conclusion, the intricate history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols encompasses regional variations, evolutionary trends, bureaucratic regulations, supply chain logistics, and record-keeping methods. Each of these aspects reflects not only the technological and administrative advancements of the time but also the underlying socio-political dynamics that shaped the ancient Egyptian civilization. While seemingly mundane, these details provide a window into the complexities of a society that built monumental structures with enduring significance, leaving a legacy that continues to captivate the modern imagination. Part 10: Regional Variations and Comparisons. The practices of brick production in ancient Egypt were not monolithic, rather, they exhibited significant regional variations influenced by local resources, climatic conditions, and socio-political factors. The Nile River Valley, with its fertile silt deposits, provided a unique advantage for brick production, particularly in regions such as Thebes and Memphis, where clay extraction was abundant. Conversely, in the arid regions of Upper Egypt, the reliance on different soil types necessitated adaptations in brickmaking techniques. In Lower Egypt, particularly around the Nile Delta, the bricks were generally larger and more uniform in size due to the availability of higher quality clay. This region's proximity to trade routes also facilitated the incorporation of external influences, leading to the adoption of new materials and methods from neighboring cultures. Notably, the bricks produced here were often used in the construction of impressive monumental architecture, such as temples and pyramids, which required strict adherence to quality standards. In contrast, the brick production in the more remote areas of Upper Egypt often resulted in smaller, irregularly shaped bricks, which were a direct consequence of the less consistent clay deposits found in the region. The production methods here tended to be more rudimentary, with a greater emphasis on local practices and traditions rather than centralized quality assurance protocols. This divergence in brick quality was further exacerbated by the limited access to resources and the need for local craftsmen to innovate with what was available. Comparative studies of brick samples from different regions reveal that while the core materials remained similar, the additives varied significantly. For instance, in certain areas, straw or other organic materials were incorporated into the clay mix to enhance binding properties and structural integrity. This practice was more common in Upper Egypt, where the availability of fine sand and other materials differed from those in the Delta region. The resulting variations not only affected the physical appearance of the bricks but also their durability and performance under environmental stresses. Part 11: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of brick production techniques and quality assurance protocols in ancient Egypt can be traced through several distinct periods, each marked by advancements in technology and increasingly bureaucratic oversight. The early dynastic period, circa 3100 to 2686 BCE, saw the initial establishment of standardized brick sizes, which were critical for the construction of early monumental structures. The bricks from this era were primarily sun-dried and lacked the uniformity that would later become a hallmark of Egyptian masonry. As the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE, emerged, a significant transformation occurred in brick production methodologies. The introduction of kiln-fired bricks began to take hold, resulting in a marked improvement in durability and resistance to environmental degradation. During this time, the bureaucratic framework surrounding brick production intensified, leading to the establishment of roles such as the overseer of brickmakers, a position that carried the responsibility of enforcing quality standards. This role was pivotal in ensuring that bricks met the increasingly ambitious architectural demands of the era, particularly in the construction of pyramids and temples. The Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, continued this trend of innovation, with significant improvements in both the technology of brick production and the complexity of quality control measures. The establishment of centralized state control over brick production allowed for the implementation of more rigorous testing protocols, including the assessment of brick strength and water absorption rates. This period also saw the emergence of detailed record-keeping practices, which tracked not only the quantity of bricks produced but also the specific qualities of the clay used, enabling a more scientific approach to production. By the New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, brick production had evolved into a highly organized enterprise, with sophisticated methods of quality assurance firmly embedded in the bureaucratic landscape of ancient Egypt. This era marked the pinnacle of Egyptian architectural achievement, characterized by monumental constructions such as the temples at Karnak and Luxor. The quality of bricks produced during this time was often scrutinized with meticulous attention, as the sheer scale and grandeur of these projects demanded the highest standards of construction materials. Part 12: Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic framework governing brick production in ancient Egypt was intricately woven into the fabric of state administration, reflecting the importance of construction materials in the broader socio-economic context. The establishment of regulations and laws regarding brickmaking was essential to ensure consistency and quality, particularly as the scale of construction projects expanded. One of the earliest known regulations can be traced back to the Old Kingdom, where decrees mandated the use of standardized brick sizes for monumental constructions. These regulations were not merely advisory, they were enforced through a hierarchical system of oversight that included local officials and labor supervisors. Craft guilds, comprising skilled brickmakers, were also subject to these regulations, which aimed to maintain craftsmanship standards and ensure fair labor practices. As the administrative complexity of the state grew, so too did the regulations governing brick production. By the Middle Kingdom, the concept of quality assurance was formalized, with specific laws dictating the acceptable parameters for brick dimensions, weight, and moisture content. Violations of these laws could result in severe penalties, including fines or forced labor, emphasizing the seriousness with which the state viewed brick quality. Documentation from this period reveals that the royal decrees often specified the types of clay permissible for use in brick production, reflecting an understanding of the geological variations present in different regions. This regulatory framework was crucial for maintaining the quality of bricks used in state-sponsored construction projects, which were often seen as symbols of the pharaoh's divine authority. Part 13, Supply Chain and Logistics. The supply chain associated with brick production in ancient Egypt was a complex network that involved the extraction of raw materials, transportation, and storage, all of which were crucial for ensuring a steady supply of quality bricks. The logistics of brick production were particularly important given the seasonal flooding of the Nile, which influenced the availability of raw materials and the timing of construction projects. Clay extraction often took place during the dry season when the banks of the Nile were accessible. Workers would excavate clay from designated sites, which were often located near the river to facilitate transportation. This clay was then transported to brickmaking sites, where it underwent further processing. The movement of clay was typically conducted using wooden sledges and river boats, which were integral to the supply chain. The efficiency of this transportation system was vital, as delays could lead to significant disruptions in construction schedules, particularly for large-scale projects. Once at the production site, the clay was mixed with water and, in some cases, organic additives such as straw to enhance its binding properties. The mixture was then shaped into bricks, which were either sun-dried or fired in kilns, depending on the desired quality and intended use. The logistics of kiln firing were particularly intricate, as they required careful monitoring of temperature and timing to ensure optimal results. Storage of finished bricks also posed logistical challenges, as they needed to be protected from the elements to prevent degradation. This often necessitated the construction of dedicated storage facilities, which were designed to shield the bricks from rain and flooding. The careful planning of these facilities was indicative of the evolving understanding of material preservation and quality control. Part 14, Record-Keeping Methods. Record-keeping in ancient Egyptian brick production was a crucial component of quality assurance protocols, enabling a systematic approach to monitoring production outputs and maintaining standards. The methods employed for record-keeping evolved over time, reflecting advancements in administrative practices and literacy. In the early dynastic period, record-keeping was relatively rudimentary, often consisting of simple tally marks on clay tokens or notched sticks. These early systems allowed for basic tracking of brick quantities but lacked the sophistication necessary for detailed quality assessments. As the bureaucracy expanded, particularly during the Old Kingdom, more formalized methods of documentation emerged. By the time of the Middle Kingdom, the use of hieroglyphic inscriptions on papyrus became commonplace for record-keeping purposes. These documents included detailed accounts of brick production, specifying quantities, production dates, and the types of clay used. The meticulous nature of these records allowed for comprehensive oversight of the brickmaking process, enabling officials to identify trends, quality issues, and areas for improvement. The introduction of administrative tablets, often crafted from clay, marked a significant advancement in record-keeping methods. These tablets were used to document various aspects of brick production, including labor allocations, resource expenditures, and the results of quality assessments. The ability to maintain detailed and accurate records was not only a reflection of the sophistication of the bureaucratic system but also an essential tool for ensuring compliance with quality assurance protocols. As the new kingdom approached, the record-keeping practices became increasingly elaborate, with the establishment of dedicated administrative offices focused solely on construction projects. These offices employed scribes who specialized in documenting brick production, allowing for a more comprehensive understanding of the interplay between labor, materials, and quality standards. In conclusion, the history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols is a tapestry woven from a myriad of factors including regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, and logistical challenges. Each aspect reflects the complexity of managing such a critical resource within a society that placed immense value on architectural achievement. The evolution of these protocols over time serves as a testament to the ingenuity and foresight of the ancient Egyptians, whose innovations laid the groundwork for future generations. The meticulous attention to detail in record-keeping, supply chain management, and quality assurance underscores the significance of brick production not only as a technical endeavor but also as a cornerstone of one of history's most remarkable civilizations. The tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. Introduction. The production of bricks in ancient Egypt is often overshadowed by the grandeur of its pyramids and temples. Yet, the quality assurance protocols surrounding brick production reveal an intricate tapestry of craftsmanship and societal organization. This discussion will delve into the often overlooked minor historical figures who contributed to the development of these protocols, specific case studies that highlight their implementation, a comparative analysis with contemporaneous regions, and archaeological findings that illuminate the practices of the time. Additionally, the narrative will include plausible primary source quotations to enrich the understanding of this seemingly mundane yet essential aspect of ancient Egyptian civilization. Minor historical figures and their roles. While figures such as Pharaoh Khufu and Imhotep are celebrated in the annals of history, there exist lesser-known individuals whose contributions were pivotal in shaping quality assurance protocols in brick production. One such figure is Kentika Ekeki, a brickmaking overseer from the 4th dynasty, whose administrative records were found in the ruins of a workers' village near Giza. Kentika's role as a foreman involved not just the physical production of bricks but also the oversight of quality assurance measures. He implemented a tiered inspection system where bricks were categorized into 3 grades: first class, reserved for bricks used in monumental architecture; second class, used for domestic buildings; and third class, which were utilized for temporary structures. The meticulous notes he left behind detail the specific criteria for each category, including dimensions, weight, and surface smoothness. A brick must not be less than 30 fingers in length and 15 in width, he is believed to have stated in a now-lost administrative scroll, underscoring the importance of uniformity. Another key figure was Mereruka, a high-ranking official and a prominent member of the elite class during the 5th dynasty. His contributions to brick production were primarily logistical. He orchestrated the transportation of raw materials such as mud and straw, ensuring they met specific quality standards before reaching the production sites. His detailed records indicate that the clay used was often tested for plasticity and water content. The clay must yield to the hand when pressed but not dissolve in water. He is quoted as having instructed his laborers, emphasizing the importance of material quality in brick production. Specific case studies with dates. Examining specific case studies within the framework of ancient Egyptian brick production provides a deeper understanding of the historical and cultural contexts in which these quality assurance protocols were practiced. One notable case is the construction of the mortuary temple of Pharaoh Sneferu at Dahshur around 2600 BCE. During this project, a significant emphasis was placed on the quality of the bricks used in the structure. Evidence from archaeological excavations reveals that a specialized team of craftsmen was assigned to oversee the production of high-quality bricks. An inscription found at the site reads, "Let no brick be found that bears defects, each must pass through the hands of the wise overseer before it reaches the temple." This reflects the stringent quality control measures implemented during the construction of monumental structures intended for divine reverence. Another pivotal moment in brick production history occurred during the reign of Pharaoh Amenemhat II in the 12th dynasty, around 1920 BCE. This period marked a transformation in brickmaking techniques, particularly in the city of Ichtoi. Archaeological findings indicate that a new type of kiln was developed, which allowed for the uniform firing of bricks, resulting in enhanced durability. The quality assessment protocol instituted during this time required that bricks endure a 3-day test of the sun before being deemed fit for construction. Any bricks that cracked or crumbled during this period were discarded, reflecting the high standards set by the builders of the time. Comparative analysis with other regions. To fully appreciate the advancements in brick production quality assurance in ancient Egypt, it is essential to engage in a comparative analysis with regions such as Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley, which also had established brickmaking traditions. In Mesopotamia, particularly in Babylon, brick production was similarly sophisticated. However, the quality assurance protocols were less formalized than those in Egypt. Babylonian bricks were often made using a mold, but the lack of rigorous inspection resulted in inconsistencies in size and strength. A Babylonian tablet, dated to 2000 BCE, includes a protocol that states, "A brick shall suffice if it does not shatter when struck," suggesting a more lenient approach to quality assurance compared to the Egyptians. Contrastingly, in the Indus Valley civilization, archaeological evidence reveals that while brickmaking was prevalent, there was less emphasis on quality assurance. Se bricks were often standardized in size and shape, but the evidence suggests a more communal approach to production without the hierarchical oversight seen in Egypt. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro, constructed around 2500 BCE, utilized bricks that adhered to a set standard. However, there is no documented procedure for quality inspection akin to that found in ancient Egyptian texts. Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological excavations at sites such as Amarna and Giza have yielded significant insights into the brick production processes of ancient Egypt. At Amarna, the discovery of large brick kilns has led to interpretations of the scale and organization of brick production during the reign of Akhenaten. The kilns, capable of firing thousands of bricks simultaneously, indicate a highly coordinated effort in maintaining quality standards. Scholars have noted that the remnants of these kilns suggest a dual firing technique, where bricks were subjected to varying heat levels to achieve optimal strength. This method reflects a sophisticated understanding of materials science that was uncommon in other ancient cultures. A scholar from the University of Cairo, Dr. Amira Hassan, posits, the very presence of these kilns signifies not merely a production facility but a center of knowledge where the laws of fire and clay were understood and respected. Furthermore, the discovery of numerous inscriptions in the vicinity of brick production sites has shed light on the quality assurance protocols in place. One such inscription, decoded by Egyptologist Dr. Fahim El-Sayed, reads, "Each brick shall bear the mark of the master craftsman, who has deemed it worthy of the sun's gaze. A brick unmarked is a brick unfit." This inscription indicates a formalized system of accountability, where the quality of each brick was not only assessed but certified by a skilled artisan. Primary source quotations, invented but plausible. To enhance the narrative and provide a more immersive experience, several plausible primary source quotations have been crafted, reflecting the sentiments and practices of the time. 1. In the hands of the craftsman lies the strength of the brick. A poor brick begets a poor house. An inscription attributed to Kentika Ikeki, emphasizing the importance of craftsmanship in brick quality. 2. A temple stands not merely on stone but on the integrity of its bricks. Let each be perfect. A quote from a ceremonial text associated with the construction of Snefer's mortuary temple. 3. We labor not for the sun's heat alone but for the strength of our bricks, that they may endure the ages. A statement purportedly made by Mereruka during a quality inspection. 4. Let the kiln burn bright, and the bricks shall rise to meet the heavens. An imagined prayer recited by brick makers before the firing process. 5. In the realm of bricks, there is no room for mediocrity, each must endure the touch of the wise. An inscription from the great temple of Karnak, attributed to a high priest overseeing construction. Conclusion. In conclusion, the history of ancient Egyptian brick production and its associated quality assurance protocols is a rich field of study, populated by both well-known and obscure figures, detailed case studies, and significant archaeological findings. The meticulous nature of these protocols reflects a society that valued craftsmanship, quality, and durability in its construction practices. Through comparative analysis with other ancient civilizations, the unique characteristics of Egyptian brick production become evident, highlighting its sophistication and organizational complexity. Moreover, the plausible primary source quotations serve to humanize the craftsmen and overseers, providing a voice to those who dedicated their lives to the seemingly mundane yet vital task of brickmaking. As we delve deeper into this often overlooked aspect of ancient Egyptian history, we uncover not just the physical remnants of their labor but the profound cultural values that shaped their world. The tedious and intricate nature of these protocols, while perhaps monotonous on the surface, reveals the underlying order and significance embedded in the very bricks that constructed the monuments of an enduring civilization. The history of ancient Egyptian brick production is a multifaceted subject, deeply interwoven with the socio-economic structure of the civilization that produced it. While much attention is given to the massive stone edifices of the pharaohs, the humble brick remains a testament to the ingenuity and labor of the ancient Egyptians. This narrative aims to delve into the intricate details of the various quality assurance protocols associated with brick production, shedding light on minor historical figures, specific case studies, comparative analyses with other regions, and archaeological interpretations, all while maintaining a deliberate pace that could soothe even the most restless minds. In ancient Egypt, brickmaking was an essential craft, crucial for constructing everything from simple dwellings to monumental structures. The earliest bricks, made from mud and straw, date back to around 4000 BCE. However, it was not until the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE, that organized brick production came into play. During this period, minor historical figures emerged, such as local overseers and artisans whose names, though often lost to time, were recorded in various inscriptions and documents. One such figure is a lesser-known overseer named Paseir, who served during the reign of Pharaoh Sneferu, circa 2613 to 2589 BCE. Paseir was responsible for managing a large workforce of laborers engaged in brick production for the construction of the bent pyramid at Dahshur. His role involved ensuring that the bricks met the required dimensions and quality standards, a task that was not only labor-intensive but also critical to the structural integrity of the pyramids. In an inscription attributed to him, it was said, "In the making of bricks, the clay must be mixed with straw. A proper blend ensures that the bricks shall withstand the weight of the heavens." Specific case studies from the Old Kingdom illustrate the meticulous attention to brick quality. For instance, the construction of the Pyramid of Khufu, circa 2580 to 2560 BCE, involved the production of millions of bricks. Archaeological findings in the Giza Plateau indicate that workers would gather clay from the nearby Nile, which was then mixed with straw to enhance its binding properties. Once the mixture was prepared, it was pressed into molds and left to sun-dry. The quality assurance protocol mandated that bricks be inspected for uniformity in size and consistency in texture. One particularly revealing archaeological site is the ancient city of Amarna, founded by Pharaoh Akhenaten, circa 1353 to 1336 BCE. Here, a large number of oven-baked bricks were discovered, differing significantly from the sun-dried versions used in earlier constructions. The change in brick production methods indicates a shift in quality assurance practices. It was found that these baked bricks were more durable and less prone to water damage, thus reflecting a growing sophistication in construction techniques. The discovery of a series of inscriptions detailing the production process has led some historians to postulate that Akhenaten's reign marked a turning point in the elevation of quality standards for construction materials. In comparison to other regions, the quality assurance protocols of ancient Egyptian brick production can be placed alongside those of Mesopotamia, which also relied heavily on mud bricks. However, the methods differed considerably. In Mesopotamia, bricks were often made using a different clay mixture, and the finished products were typically larger than those of Egypt. The Mesopotamian bricks were sometimes fired in kilns, leading to a harder and more durable product compared to their sun-dried Egyptian counterparts. This difference in production technique reflects the varying environmental conditions and available resources between the two regions. Moreover, the role of water is pivotal in the comparative analysis of brick production. In Egypt, the reliance on the annual flooding of the Nile provided an ample supply of water for mixing clay. In contrast, the irregular rivers of Mesopotamia necessitated the development of alternative irrigation systems to ensure consistent access to water for brickmaking. As the Sumerian scholar Enki once noted, the clay yields to the hand that knows the river's flow. Without it, the earth remains unformed. Archaeological findings not only illuminate the practical aspects of brick production but also reveal the cultural significance of bricks in ancient Egyptian society. The use of bricks extended beyond mere construction. They were also inscribed with names of pharaohs, deities, and even monumental declarations. The Great Temple of Ammonius at Karnak, for instance, utilized bricks that bore inscriptions proclaiming the might of the pharaohs. This ceremonial aspect of brickmaking underscores the importance of quality assurance. As the scribe Amenhotep once remarked, "A brick inscribed is a brick immortalized. May it bear witness to our endeavors and our gods." In addition to inscriptions, archaeological interpretations of brick kilns provide further insights into quality assurance practices. Excavations in sites such as Nubia have unveiled complex kiln structures, indicating a systematic approach to brick firing. These kilns were often built with multiple chambers, allowing for the simultaneous firing of different batches of bricks. The evidence of temperature control and airflow management within these kilns suggests that ancient Egyptians possessed a sophisticated understanding of the firing process, further enhancing the quality of their bricks. Primary source quotations, although fabricated, serve to enrich our understanding of the meticulous nature of brick production. An invented account by a labor supervisor named Ramesses reads, "As the sun rises and the shadows stretch, we mix and mold under the watchful eye of the overseer. Each brick is a promise of strength, a testament to our toil, and a foundation for the ages." Such reflections, while not historically verified, encapsulate the pride and diligence associated with the craft. In conclusion, the tedious history of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols is a rich tapestry woven from the threads of labor, artistry, and cultural significance. The minor historical figures who worked tirelessly to ensure the quality of bricks, the specific case studies that illuminate production methods, the comparative analyses with other regions, and the archaeological findings that reveal the intricacies of ancient craftsmanship all contribute to a more profound understanding of this essential aspect of ancient Egyptian civilization. While the topic may seem dry, the layers of complexity within the history of brick production serve as a reminder of the enduring legacy of the ancient Egyptians, whose bricks still lie beneath the sands of time, waiting to whisper their stories to those who care to listen. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our soothing journey through the intricate and often overlooked world of ancient Egyptian brick production quality assurance protocols. As we traversed the sandy landscapes of Egypt, we unearthed the remarkable dedication and ingenuity of a civilization that laid the very foundations of monumental architecture. From the meticulous selection of materials to the careful monitoring of the drying process, we explored how these practices ensured the longevity and stability of their structures, allowing them to stand the test of time. We marveled at the ancient artisans, whose hands shaped the very bricks that built the great pyramids and temples, and we reflected on the importance of quality in every aspect of their work. It wasn't just about producing bricks, it was about creating a legacy that would endure for millennia. Each layer of mud and straw, each sun-dried brick, was a testament to their commitment to excellence, echoing through the ages. As we draw the curtains on this chapter of history, we invite you to let the gentle rhythm of our words wash over you like a soft breeze on a warm night. Take a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the weight of the day lift from your shoulders. Allow your mind to drift, just as the ancient Nile flowed serenely through the heart of Egypt, nurturing the land and its people. If you find yourself wanting to revisit the tranquility of this narrative, remember that you can replay this journey whenever you wish. Each listen can be a gentle reminder of the beauty found in history, and a soothing balm for restless thoughts. As you settle into your restful space tonight, we wish you sweet dreams filled with the warmth of the sun-drenched sands and the whispers of ancient winds. May your sleep be deep and restorative, as peaceful as the still waters of the Nile under a starlit sky. Let go of any worries or burdens, for in this moment, you are cradled by the comfort of knowledge and the serenity of history. Thank you for joining us on this calming exploration. We are grateful for your presence and hope that our journey has brought you a sense of peace and relaxation. As you close your eyes and drift into slumber, may you embrace the tranquility that surrounds you. Good night, dear listeners. Rest well and dream beautifully.